I appreciate everybody being here. This is obviously an exciting trip for our team. We just got here in Indianapolis, and so far it's been great. In terms of the hospitality of everybody here in Indianapolis. Had a good week of practice against, getting prepared for what we think is one of the best coached teams and best teams, not only in the Big Ten but in the country. And had a good week of practice and excited to get playing.
Coach, we're going to start right in front of you, row 3, please. Please identify your name and outlet.
Austin Ward from Letterman Row. Ryan, we don't usually get to talk to you the day before a game, but as you saw Justin go through the week practicing with that knee and the brace and everything, do you have more confidence that he can run most of the offense than you had at the start of the week as you get ready tomorrow?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job this week preparing, and it's something he's been kind of dealing with, but he's done a great job, and training staff's been doing a great job of getting him ready, and he's had a good, strong week of practice.
Second row to your right, Coach.
Yeah, Ryan, I asked you this the other day, but not only would you be the first team to win 3 outright Big Ten championships in a row, it's never been done at all. What kind of achievement would that be for you?
Well, I mean, it would mean a lot. I don't know, in terms of sitting back and reflecting on what that would mean, down the road. We'll kind of think about that as we get, done with the season, maybe in February. But right now, it's all eyes on this game and playing a great game and keep preparing, for the next night to make sure that we're playing our best ball, because we want to make sure we're, like we talked about, accelerating through the finish line, which is the Big Ten championship game. It's been a goal. It's been on our board for a long time, and so it's all about being locked in, focusing on executing at a high level. At a game like this, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of hoopla when you come into the city, and they do a great job of that. But really, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to execution and who does their job on the field, and that's what the focus is on right now.
Couple of questions to our left, row 2.
Hey, Ryan, Bill Landis from The Athletic. Will Jonathan Cooper still travel with you guys, even though he's not playing? And is there any chance that you might still dress him in these games just in case you might need him?
He will travel with us, but we won't dress him, though. Unless he just made a strong case for why he'd want to dress, what the plan is for him not to. We didn't want to risk putting him on the field. It's a decision you have to make, taking emotion out of it. As much as we'd love to have him in a game like this, we just think that the best thing to do is to have a whole year, and he deserves that. He deserves to have a full season his senior year, healthy and playing a high level of football, which we know he's capable of. I know it's going to hurt him more than anybody not having him out there Saturday, but we think it's the right thing to do.
Stay in row 2.
Hey, Ryan, Ari from The Athletic. Ari Wasserman from The Athletic. Garrett Wilson had some muffed punts. I know it's been a topic of conversation for you guys. Is there any consideration for moving guys around in that area? Or are you going to stick with him, let him go through his freshman growing pains, and is that just somebody you want to have on the field in that situation?
Yeah, he's got to take care of the ball, but he'll be our returner, tomorrow night. We believe in him, we trust in him, we think he has the ability to be an elite returner. And so, we'll just keep working through it and get his eyes on that ball and catch it. We know he's capable of. We see what he's done in practice. I think the other day, the wind was a little gusty. You could see that on 2 plays, in my opinion. One was that play, and then also, Chris Olave's long ball. The ball kind of caught it at the end and caught him in the face. And so, there's no excuse, but an indoor situation with no weather, we expect him to do a great job and be 100% catching the ball.
Go ahead and stay right here in row 2, and then we're going to go back to our right. Go ahead.
We've been asking a lot about Garrett all year and his progression, and just kind of following that Chris Olave plan of getting better as his freshman year. Is he peaking at the right time? And I know that you've had a very deep receiver rotation all year, but is this somebody that is kind of reaching a point that you thought he could get to this year?
Well, he's practicing much better, and then to see him make those plays the other day, that's huge. But there is a process, and it takes time. It doesn't happen as talented as he is and some of the other guys are. It takes time, and his practice habits have improved, and then you saw that, And so I think Chris is a great example of that last year, and now you get a chance to see Garrett shine in one of the biggest moments, and so now he's got to now carry that over into this game. He can't. That game's behind us. He's got to focus on this game just like everybody else. But it was good to see a young guy step up in that moment.
We're going to stay right here in row 2 before we switch to our right.
Doug Maurice from Cleveland.com. Ryan, I'm not trying to get secret info on Justin or anything, and I guess I'm not even drawing a direct comparison. But in 2017, when you guys were here, you had a quarterback who was coming off a knee injury, and you're going to have to figure out a way to have JT Barrett be effective and be in this game. For any play caller, for any coach, when you have a quarterback who has something physically, just what is the process like of trying to figure out, well, I think the game might go like this. We're not 100% sure what he's going to be like physically on Saturday. How do you sort of prepare yourself, and how will you react into the game once you see Justin moving around?
Well, first, JT had that procedure done, and I think that was a very different injury. But I do hear the comparison, what you're saying. No, I mean, we talk to the training staff, talk to our people, and just ask all those questions. What the risks are and what they aren't, and everything we've heard back is that it's 100% go, and he's ready to roll, and so then we go from there. And if there was any question on that, then we certainly would take precautions. But we feel great. He's had a good week of practice. We're ready to roll.
Coach, I'm going to introduce you to our junior journalists program. We've got some young aspiring journalists. We're going to take 2 questions in the back row on the right. Go ahead.
Landry Prizer, junior journalism. How do you plan on stopping the rush attack of Jonathan Taylor in Wisconsin?
Well, it's a team effort. It's a good question. There's a lot that goes with it. First off, it starts with the defensive line and doing a great job on the line of scrimmage. And then it's everybody else who fits into the run. Everybody has to be involved with it, the linebackers and certainly the secondary. And you got to wrap up, but it takes more than one guy. And we got to do a good job of being physical, but we also have to pursue to the ball. Everybody has to pursue to the ball, and sometimes it'll take multiple guys to get them down. But you have to win your one-on-one matchups at the end of the day. And if you defeat a block and you get over and you get a chance to tackle them, you got to wrap them up.
Hi, I'm Barad from the junior journalist program, and as your first year in head coach, what are your goals for Fields and Young?
What are our goals for them? Well, we really didn't set any individual goals in terms of anything other than being a great teammate and doing a good job in terms of creating leadership. That's a huge part of it for us. And both Justin and Chase, the 2 guys you asked about, they both stepped into different situations. Justin was the quarterback and hadn't had any collegiate starts, came into the program new in January, and then Chase had been in the program. This was his 3rd year, and both of those guys really stepped up into leadership roles this year. Have done an unbelievable job, and of all the things that they've been credited for this year, the thing that I'm the most proud of is their leadership and the way they've gone about their business week in and week out.
Coach, we'll stay to your right, 3rd row on the right.
Colton Bartholomew, Wisconsin State Journal. What has Greg Madison meant to you and your staff in his first year with you guys at Ohio State?
Well, he's bringing unbelievable set of experience to the table, and in that whole defensive room, I thought they've really done a great job of coming together in a short period of time and creating good chemistry over there. Because I think if you want to have good chemistry on a team, you have to have good chemistry on your coaching staff. And Greg's been through it before. He's a veteran. He knows what it takes, to win at the highest level, and his experience and just the fact that he's been there before really has been big for us. And then also just again that whole staff and the way that they've built chemistry has been really good. But again, when you have somebody with experience who has the answers when things are flying around and the bullets are flying, it's always good to know that someone's been in the fire before.
2nd row to the right. Please raise your hand, please, and I'll identify for the next question.
Ryan, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch. Getting Sean Wade back this week, what do you think is the biggest thing, of all the things that he does for you guys, what's the best thing he does to help you guys?
Well, he brings a certain level of calmness to that defense because he has so much experience there. He's had a good week of practice, and he can identify what's happening. He's got a lot of experience in there. Last week we kind of moved Damon inside, and that created a little bit of unrest. We moved him back, and then things calmed down a little bit. But Sean has got a lot of experience. He's played a lot of football. He can recognize things. He's versatile, and he's good in the running and the pass game.
To the left.
Tim May, Letterman Row. Ryan, I was wondering, have we made too much about a rematch 5-6 weeks after you've played a team? And number 2, what are you behooved to change up a little bit in his signals, et cetera, as you go into a game like this?
Well, no, I mean, it's a rematch, and so I know that's rare in college football, but again, I don't think you make too much of it in the fact that you can't all of a sudden just start changing everything you do, but you also can't do the same exact thing you did before. So there's somewhere in between. I think that's the balance you try to find is, what kind of wrinkles can you show, but then allow the guys to play. Because again, at the end of the day, in an environment like this, in this type of atmosphere, it's about players, not plays, and allowing these guys to play freely, and then have their impact on the game based on what you're giving the guys, and making sure they're playing with a clear mind. And that's the most important thing to me in a game like this.
Row 3 to the right.
Joe Dempsey with Buckeye Sports Bulletin. Ryan, in the offseason, we talked with JK a lot about how he wanted to improve and how he wasn't hitting the home runs last year that he wanted to. This year, he's been hitting some of those home runs. How important has he been for your offense, and what differences have you seen in him this year?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think our blocking with the offensive line has been excellent. The guys inside, the guys on the edge in terms of tackle and tight end have been off the charts, but he's run with an edge. He's run with a chip on his shoulder all season. And like you said, he's been running harder. So, those 4-yard runs are becoming 5 and 6, and then the big plays take care of themselves. And, the big thing for him is just taking care of that ball, which for the most part he's done a great job of this year. But that's going to be a huge emphasis point going into this game. Run with your pads down, but take care of the football. Trust your offensive line, trust your reads, and if you do that, you're going to have one heck of a night. But that's the message to JK this week.
Questions for Coach Day? Front row here left.
Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com. I know that there's a lot of bumps and bruises and people banged up this time of year, but in terms of the status report, I think that was probably the cleanest one we've seen maybe since the first week of the season. With these last couple games and the stakes that were there, did you approach how you were kind of managing that differently, knowing you also still had to keep as many people healthy for this game and what could be coming up behind it too?
Well, I think it's more a product of just the way the season's gone with the 2 bye weeks, and then us getting some of our starters out of the game early on in the season. And then, like you said, we're a pretty clean team right now in terms of injuries. So it has nothing to do with what we've done the last couple of weeks, other than the fact that, we held Sean out because we didn't think he was 100%. And I don't think you can do that to somebody like Sean. You can't put him in the game in a skill position if he's not where he needs to be, and we wouldn't do that to him. So, but if anybody's ready to play or physically ready to play, we're not going to hold them back. Certainly in the games like that, Penn State, team up north, and then this one right here. So it's all hands on deck to try to get this thing, because like we say, it's like March Madness, and we need everybody to do their job, whether it's the right guard on field goal or starting quarterback. We need everybody.
On the left in row 3, and then follow in row 2.
Spencer Holbrook from Letterman Row. Ryan, Josh Myers probably didn't get as much recognition as he might have deserved on those all Big Ten teams. What has he meant for the offensive line this year? I know you guys had a lot of returning starters within Jonah and Thayer, but what has Josh Myers meant to the offensive line so far this year?
Yeah, I don't know if I can really put it into words. I just think for a first-time starter, and what he's done this year has been excellent. And he's as good as I've been around at that age. His communication, his ability to get the calls from tackle to tackle, his pad level, his strength, his protection, his athleticism. When you put that all to his leadership, you put that all together, I mean, he's very, very talented and really good, and he's been playing really good for us.
Stay in row 3.
Austin Ward from Letterman Row. To go back to what you said, Ryan, about JK's chip on his shoulder, he's spent all year feeling underappreciated a little bit nationally. He seems to, feel slighted. And then this week he doesn't win Big Ten Running Back of the Year. Not asking for a recount or any votes or anything, but is that something that you sense motivates him, or is he paying any attention to that this week going into tomorrow night?
Well, I think if I'm not speaking for JK, you'd have to ask him that. But I know if it was me, I'd ask, what else do I need to do? And I think he deserves to be considered the best running back in the country. But that hasn't really necessarily been the case, and I know that bothers him, and I know he runs with a chip on his shoulder because of that. But you'd have to ask him how he feels. I know it bothers me, but he still has some more opportunities to prove himself.
To the right, row 2.
Yes, Bill Rabino with the Columbus Dispatch. When we talked to KJ the other day, he's within reach of the career all-time receiving record at Ohio State, but he admitted it's been a frustrating year because the ball has been spread around so much, the running game is better. He's had to sublimate his own personal goals, and that's something the whole team has done. Can you kind of speak to that about KJ's season and also just about the fact that some of these guys are not getting the stats that they would otherwise.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when you're the number one scoring offense in the country, and you know, there's guys in the team who still feel like they don't have the numbers or stats that they would like. You know, it's a good problem to have, but you know, when you play in some of the games like we've played early in the season, and those guys aren't playing in the second half, that's kind of one of the give and take. You know, there's positives and negatives to everything, but now that we're playing in these big games, you know, now everyone's having an opportunity to show up and get these stats. So, you know, these last couple of games, you know, this one right here, they're all huge opportunities, and I think all those guys to a man would say to you that that's not the number one goal is to get you know, receptions or touches or touchdowns or anything like that. The number one goal is to win championships, and that's why everybody's here, and that's been the goal, and that's what makes this team special, is that they don't care about that. They celebrate with their teammates, and it's all about winning. Well, yeah, I think he's done I mean, coming back, and he's been the guy. You know, he kind of split time with Paris last year, and he's been the guy. You know, we play in a little bit of 12 personnel. He comes out, but I mean, he's the H for us, and he does a great job in there. He's clutch. He makes some big plays in big games. We all know that. He's reliable, and he does a great job on the inside, and he's been a captain of this team. And so, you know, the guys who left last year, you know, they left a legacy behind. Well, now, you know, KJ, Austin, and Ben have an opportunity to leave a legacy behind because we still got a lot of football to play. And, you know, I think overall he's done a great job of leadership this year.
We have about 10 minutes remaining with Coach Day. We'll go to the back, and then we'll come back here to the front.
Hey, Coach. Kyle Babcock, Sports Report Media. You've arguably got one of the best teams in the country. Your guys are undefeated. They're playing for the championship. How do you keep these guys motivated each week, knowing that they're a step closer to that championship now, Big Ten championship?
Well, they've been highly motivated all year, and they know, you know, we talk about the race to the Big Ten championship, and the finish line to this race, which is the Big Ten championship. You can see the finish line, and the goal and visual has been accelerating through that finish line, not you know, pulling up here, because that's what great athletes do. That's what great teams do, is they accelerate at the end. And we've known that this has been coming. This has been one of our goals. We don't talk too much about what's next. We kind of really stay in the moment. During the bye weeks in preseason, we took a look at the schedule and talked through what the season was going to be like. And we knew that the end of the season was going to be hard to have. We expected to be in 3 top 10 games at the end of the season. That's not easy to do for 18, 19, and 20-year-old guys to play in you know, emotional games like this. And it started with a top 10 win against Penn State at home. Then we went up north and won last week, and now we come to Indianapolis for this one. So we knew this 3-game stretch was coming. The guys have been prepared. I think they've had their eyes on this for a long time, and now it's just you put your head down and you just go as hard as you can to get through this finish line and win the game.
Row 2.
Doug Lamery, Cleveland.com. Ryan, with the way you guys have taken starters in the second half this year, we know you don't want to run it up. We know you want to get your backups in. You want to keep guys healthy. How much did you factor into that, wanting your top guys to be fresh and strong in November and December? Was that part of, how does that factor in? And what have you seen of your starters at this point in the season, of how worn down or how fresh they are with the time they've had offensive second halves?
I think the answer to your question, yes, to all the above that you said. You know, when you're in those situations, you want to get guys, you know, some work, but you also want to get those guys fresh late in the season, the starters. And I think you could see that, by the way, you know, on both sides of the ball, the way our lines are coming off the ball. You kind of look to me on an offensive defensive line based on, are they standing up or are they coming off the ball and going forward this time of year? And I think you'll see our guys are going forward. I think our running backs are running hard with power, and our guys look fast on the perimeter. So, yeah, I think, you know, part of the reason for that is just the way the season's played out.
We've got 2 questions on our left, row 3, and then 2.
Andy Anders, the Lantern. You guys have been able to run the ball from a lot of different looks, whether it's under center or the zone reads and everything else. How is that versatility on the ground important against a team that defends the run so well, like Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's hard. You know, these guys do an unbelievable job. You know, Coach Leonard and that whole defensive staff, they got really veteran guys. It's very hard to find an inch on them. And so, yeah, you got to be creative. You got to change things up. You got to change up formations. You got to change up schemes. You got to do a lot of different things to put them in stress. to move the ball, and then they play great situational, great third down, great in the red zone. So it's a big challenge for our offense. And in the first half of that game, we didn't play great. Defense did, and then we started to do a little better in the second half. But it's a big challenge, so our guys are ready for it. They know the challenge and they know the issues.
Go ahead, row 2.
Ryan, maybe along those same lines, the only 3 teams in the country who have more rushing yards than you guys are the service academies. And I remember before the season you talked about not yet knowing what this team's offensive identity might be. You were going to sort of learn that over time. I wonder, did you have any inkling, and I know you have balance, but I think when people look at you guys, they see a physical team that runs the ball. Did you have any inkling that you guys could be that? Was there any hope that you could be that when you took a survey of the personnel that you have?
I didn't really know exactly what it was going to be. I knew we had a young quarterback who there's a lot of question marks about. We had a pretty good veteran wide receiving core and tight ends, and we had 4 new guys in the offensive line. So to say that knew it was going to look just like this, no. I had an idea. Really felt like Wyatt and Josh coming back off of last year. We kind of knew what we had in Brandon Bowen, but then having Jonah to come in there, we had some promise that we could do a good job moving people off the ball. But the way JK's run and the way we've moved people off the ball has been, something that's gotten stronger as the season's gone on. And then to see, Justin flourish especially in these big games and just the way that he's competed, I think that's where the journey's come. And like we said in the preseason, that was, what I was most excited about, was to kind of figure that part out on offense and defense. And there's still a lot to be written. And I still don't think we've played our best football yet. I think in all 3 phases, we've yet to put together just a dominant performance in all 3 phases. And so that's another challenge that we've given the team this year. What's the best version of this team? And so that's something we're working on this week.
We've got about 4 to 5 minutes left for any questions. We've got one here. Stay in the second row.
Hey, Ryan. When you look at the schedule you guys had at the beginning of the year, you might look at it and say, Penn State, Michigan, Big Ten championship, 2 playoff games in a row to win a national title. Now that you're in the midst of that pretty brutal run in terms of the opponents you're playing, I'm wondering, how is your team in the middle of it? Are you better off for being in the midst of something like this, or is it harder because, hey, the teams are better and you're banged up? I mean, now that you're like in the thick of that run and that stretch, looking ahead at tomorrow and what might be ahead, how do you feel this team has responded to that?
I don't think we'll know until we get done with tomorrow night. But I think when you're in stretches like this, you just go. You don't start thinking about it. You don't start worrying about it. You go. You're smart about how you practice. But when you look at the injury report, we're pretty clean right now. And I thought we had a good week of practice. I expect us to play fast tomorrow night. But we'll know more when we get done with the game. But it's a tough stretch. But it's something we've been preparing for, and I think the team's ready for it.
Feels is going to be, without giving away secrets, obviously, what?
Well, when people ask me that question, the thing I go back to is really, the plays this year that he's got himself a little bumped and bruises were actually passes. So he's done a good job in the run game of taking care of himself. And so there's only so much we can do. The one in the Penn State game, he was rolling out to his left on that 4th down, and then the other one, he got hit in the pocket as well. So, you just do the best you can, and you try to, run the plays you think are going to be the most successful, and you go from there. But I think when you start to, be hesitant or overcautious, then you just set yourself up for failure. So we'll be aggressive, and we'll go.
Take one more question from row 2, and then we'll have our photo session.
Ryan, we've seen all year the way Justin has been in control of this offense on the field. He seems like a very low-key, even-keeled, kind of no-drama guy off the field, especially at the quarterback position. What does that do for a team if from our vantage point, it feels like Justin just sort of takes care of business and there's not a lot of outside stuff with him that we know sometimes with quarterbacks, there can be stuff like that.
Well, I think his family's done a tremendous job of grounding him. He has a tremendous approach, and he's humble. But deep inside, there's a fiery, competitive dude in there who just tries to go and take your heart out when he's at the game. But he's got an interesting demeanor about him. He's just very smooth, and you don't see much on the surface, but he's very, very competitive, and that's something I didn't know about him until he started playing in these big games. And nothing but the utmost respect for him as a person and his character and his approach. He's a really good player.